11. But now let's talk body confidence. Now, did you listen yesterday? Because we had the dilemma. It was sent in from Steve. Now, his wife had just had a bit of an overhaul, and he was worried that the next change she might want to make would be to get rid of him. Well, he wasn't worried, but all his friends said she's going to bin you off, she's going to move on to somebody else. And at the end of the hour, we'd established that his friends weren't that nice, and he perhaps needs to get rid of those. But at the end of the day, we all kind of get to this point of year, and we're thinking the sun's coming out, more of our body is going to be on display. Do you feel under pressure to kind of like make yourself look different? Give me a call, 08081 009956. New research suggests that in actual fact 3/4 of women are feeling pressured to change the way that they look this summer. Now let's have a chat to Honey Ross, who's a body confidence activist and co-host of the Body Protest podcast. Good morning to you, Honey.
Good morning. Hi.
Nice to talk to you, Honey. Well, let me just start by saying I couldn't be more pleased that there are people like you out there doing these podcasts and getting this message out, because I've got teenage daughters and I know that the pressure is all too real.
Well, thank you so much. And no, gosh, it's hard out there, especially for teenagers. My heart really breaks for them and goes out to them right now. I can't imagine how tough it would be to be growing up with the pressures that they're facing today.
Well, you see, don't you, the kind of like images that they come across, and everybody is airbrushed, everybody looks perfect. This may not be, as I keep telling them, in real life, this may not be how they actually are, but they've kind of like, you know, brushed it up a little bit. But there does seem to be that pressure to be nigh on perfect, and that is a big ask, isn't it?
It's a really big ask, and it's coming at a really tough time. I mean, look, I think the pursuit of perfection has always been something that people have been seeking, and that kind of chasing that unrealistic idealized body type, you know, it's something that is put on us as people in our society. There is a lot of pressure to kind of conform to a certain body type. But one thing we're seeing, I mean, especially from Bumble's research, is that 59% of us have been left feeling less confident about our appearance post-lockdown, which is so interesting because it shows that the pressure's never been more high to look a certain way, but we are all feeling so anxious about it. And it's like, why are we putting this pressure on ourselves? You know, if there's one thing we should take away from this research that Bumble have done recently, is that everybody is feeling the same way. And everybody, well, you know, over half of people are feeling this anxiety to put themselves out there. And, you know, it's really interesting to see.
I mean, it has been a really difficult year, 18 months, hasn't it? You know, people are living life in a different way, and they've had to kind of like readjust. And maybe we've heard of lots of situations where maybe some people have overindulged. Maybe, you know, they've reached for a little bit more alcohol than they normally would, a little bit more food than they normally would, perhaps haven't got as much exercise because they've been self-isolating. And so on top of all of that, the pressures of the world at the minute and the looking great, it all stacks up, doesn't it?
It all stacks up. Well, you know, and I think it's interesting of you saying, of, you know, air quotes, overindulge. We have been in a global pandemic where we were locked in our houses and people were just doing what they needed to do to survive an incredibly difficult time. And of course, our bodies have changed, you know. Our routines were completely uprooted. Any kind of, you know, gyms were closed, pools were closed. Most people, you know, everything changed. And I think it's expected that our bodies would change with that. But the one thing we can do is make sure that we are kinder to ourselves when it comes to the change in our bodies. And, you know, it's appreciating that our bodies have taken us through this incredibly difficult time. And I just, you know, if you are negative about the way, you know, if you talk negatively about your body, you are only making your body a harder place to live. Because, you know, that is an added, you don't need that internal abuse, as well as, you know, Bumble have said 1/3 of people face body shaming, you know, and I think the world is hard enough. Why are we making it harder for ourselves?
And you've got a lot of people as well that have been on their own through all of this. And, you know, you've had relationships break down. We know that it's taken its toll on relationships and marriages. People that have been cooped up together have perhaps come through this and thought, oh, I don't know if I want to be with this person. We talked to a lady yesterday. She'd been with her partner for 10 years. And this, she said, was the wake-up call. She didn't want to do it anymore. She wanted a fresh start. She wanted a new her. And she wanted to get out there and start dating again. She'd got the confidence to do that. But a lot of people are looking around and looking at themselves and thinking, am I good enough for this? Which is so sad.
It's so sad. And I kind of, I feel really inclined to say, however you show up is enough, especially with dating. You are enough exactly as you are. And I think if you show up and someone makes you feel anything less than, they are the wrong person and you are not the problem. Your body is never the problem. I think that, like, especially when it comes to body image, but it is how we think and feel and relate to our own bodies. It's nothing to do with how we look. It's nothing to do with what we look like. It's to do with how we feel about what we look like. And, we have so much power over that. We have more power over that than we think. If you're able to turn off that noise and shut out the voices that might not necessarily be the most helpful, like voices on social media, the voices in the media, things telling us to diet, lose weight, all of these things, you can make your relationship to yourself a really special thing. But like any relationship, it takes work.
Absolutely. And if we go back to, the kids again, as I said, I've got 2 teenage daughters. Now, one, she's out there with the latest trends, the latest everything. And the younger one is like coming to me and I'm like, do you want to do any of this? And she's like, I don't want to be like everybody else. Because all her friends, they're getting into the tanning, the false this, the false that. And that's great. They look lovely. That's what they want to do. But she's like, I just want to be me. I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to feel pressured into doing it just because everybody else is. I just want to be me. And I was so proud of her because she's only 13, but she's realized for herself, you don't need to look a certain way to fit in. You can just be you.
Completely. I mean, I always like to say I'm my own beauty standard. I am not going to let other people dictate how I think I should look, because I like how I look. And I think it's really empowering to be able to make those decisions about your appearance for yourself and go, I'm going to do this and that's fine. It may not be what everybody else is doing, but that is valid because it is my choice and my body.
What impact do you think, social media has on, people from all walks of life that put a picture up and then you'll get somebody that feels that, oh, I'm going to say something detrimental about you? Because we can all say brush it off, it's just words, but some of that kicks in and it sticks, doesn't it? You can get loads of lovely comments and the odd really bad one. And why is it that the bad ones stick with us?
I mean, I think as humans, we weren't ever really meant to receive that kind of feedback. I think, there's one thing to receive valid negative criticism, but if it's someone just being derogatory and abusive, obviously it's not going to make you feel good. It's not in our human nature to be receiving that and being like, oh, brush it off. That was not how we were designed as humans. And I think, that's one of the reasons I love so much what Bumble are doing on their app, which is they've got a zero tolerance policy for body shaming. Because the fact is, people are held back by those negative comments. People are less likely to want to put themselves out there if they think they're going to be shamed for how they look. So, for Bumble to step in and make a space that is safe for you to date, it's really empowering. They've got an automated service that will safeguard any kind of derogatory or abusive language that comes through, so you don't even have to see it. And it means that you can just date and have fun with it because it's meant to be fun.
Now, we're talking about this today because this is based on this research about women. What about men? Do they suffer from this as well? Do they feel under pressure to look a certain way, do you think?
Men were included in the study by Bumble, and of course, men are under different pressures to women, but pressures nonetheless. And I think it's really important to think about male body image, and it's something that's so often brushed under the rug, but it's a really prevalent topic. And I think, there are specific, 3/4 of men and women say that their insecurities have held them back when it comes to finding love, with 1/4 of those people even cancelling dates. It's affecting both men and women, and I think it's really important to note that, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, listen, I think people should love themselves more, and it has been lovely talking to you, honey. Tell us about the podcast then, because I think it will be of value for people to go find it and have a look. So where can they find it?
Thank you so much. You can find the Body Protest podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And it is, I work with Dr. Nadia Craddock, and we wanted to combine storytelling with science to try and help people better understand their relationship with their bodies, because everybody is on such a unique, complicated journey that is shaped by so many factors. And I think it's bringing in those statistics and grounding them in real life stories that makes it so effective and helps you understand that you can change your relationship with yourself, because I think it feels so impenetrable to some people.
Well, let's hope that anybody that was kind of like sitting there worrying, gets something from this. And again, thank you, Honey Ross, for your time today. Go and check out that Body Protest podcast as well. Anybody that has a need to. It's BBC Radio. 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 It's BBC Radio.